Hi, good morning everyone. Welcome to a new lesson on our online training. And as you can see here, our lesson today is from Interchange Book 2, Unit 9, Grammar Focus, which is time contrasts. So let's start it. So what do we mean by time contrasts? The verb contrast means to show a difference or differences, like photos that reveal how much weight someone lost by contrasting the before and after the shots. That's to say, to contrast something is to look for the differences among two or more elements. For example, many years ago, or 20 years ago, I used to live in Sudan. Now, I'm living in Saudi Arabia. So this is a difference. So when we contrast two things, we are looking at the differences. So when it comes to time contrast, we usually use it to talk about the differences or the change in our life. And we can make time contrasts by using different time phrases like this. There are a lot of time phrases, but these are just examples. So if we are talking about the past, we can use used to or a few years ago. If we are talking about the present, we use nowadays or these days. For the future, we use soon or in a few years. We also need to select the correct tense. So if you look at this example, 70 years ago, people watched black and white movies. So if you look here, this time expression about the past, it's a past time phrase. So here, we're going to use the simple past. So 70 years ago, people watched black and white movies. The second example, nowadays people watch three-dimensional movies. So here, this is a present time phrase. So here, we use the simple present. While in the third example, soon people will be able to smell movies. So here we have future time phrase. So here we are going to use future with will. So we choose the tense according to the time expression. If you look here at these three sentences, these days people will use jet packs. 10 years ago, people drive cars. In 50 years, people used a horse and cart. So look at them for a while and try to figure out the mistake or mistakes in these three sentences. These days, people will use jacket packs. 100 years ago, people drive cars. In 50 years, people use a horse and cart. If you look here, these days, this is a present time phrase. But here, we have a future tense. Here, 100 years ago, this is a past time phrase, while we have a present tense. Here, in 50 years, future time phrase, while here we have a past tense. So this is the mistake or the mistakes. They should be like this. 100 years ago, the people used a horse and cart. These days, people drive cars. In 50 years, people will use jet packs. So this shows you the what we said before. According to the time phrase, we choose or we use the correct tense. Here again we have more examples for the past, present and future, contrasting. For the first example, we are contrasting or making contrast about the change in people's life. So a few years ago, not many people lived here, in this town or in this place or in this village. These days, the population is growing so fast. Soon, there will be apartment blocks everywhere. So, as we said before, we choose the tense according to the time phrase. Okay? But you will ask yourself, why we are talking about the future? We can make contrast between the past and the present. So the future, we are making predictions or expectations about what is going to happen in the future, or what are the changes that we expect to happen. People used to rent videotapes. Today, people download movies online. In a few years, movie theaters might not exist. 50 years ago, people walked everywhere. Nowadays, people drive their cars instead. People are going to have self-driven cars in the future. Here are more examples from different topics. For example, if we are going to make contrast about transportation. In the past, people who needed to travel had to take the train. Nowadays, people drive their cars instead. In the future, people might have self-driven cars. In entertainment, in the 20th century, the radio and television were invented. These days, we have computer games, high-definition TV, and three-dimensional movies. Sometime in the future, we might have thought-controlled video games and virtual reality movies. Education has changed over the years. Nowadays, in many classrooms, students are learning with interactive whiteboards. Communications. Before the internet, people used to send letters by the postal system. Sometime in the future, we'll probably have cell phone implant to communicate. Looks like science fiction, but always what we watch in science fiction movies come true. In the past, houses used to be very big than they are today. A few years ago, the cities were greener than they are today. Soon there will be more pollution and less trees in the cities. Before there were supermarkets, people used to shop at small grocery stores. Soon we won't have to go out shopping. You can do shopping online. Now we are doing it. Sometime in the future, we will probably use robots and drones for almost everything. So again, in short, these are more time expressions, or some of the common ones. For the past, we can say a few years ago, in the past, in the 90s or 19th century, or during the 90s or 70s or something like this. In the 60s, in the present tense, we can say or can use these days, today, nowadays, this year, or as we speak. In the future tense, we can use soon, in 20 years, in the future, in the next 100 years, and in a year. And as I said before, these are just examples. There are many of the time expressions. So this is all for today, guys. I hope you got a clear picture about time contrast. You can go back to your Interchange Book 2, page 58 for more elaboration about this, and go back to your workbook as usual to do these exercises. Thank you for now until we meet next time.